One of the most dramatic discoveries in modern times is the realization that South America is heavily influenced by the Hindu culture. And it's not a modern influence either. We're talking ancient here in every sense of the word. At the San Agustin archaeological site in Colombia, discoveries have been made that are relating to the Indian subcontinent and more particularly Hinduism. This is overwhelmingly suggesting that sometime around 2,000 years ago, a movement of people was undertaken from one part of the world to the other, a feat that was not repeated until the discovery of Australia. If the Indians of antiquity had undertaken such a voyage, and these ancient statues overwhelmingly tell us they did, then the seclusion of many island cultures can be explained, and the influence from the Indian subcontinent over 2,000 years ago may have given birth to one of the most mysterious Sanskrit writing systems in the world, the undeciphered Rongo-Rongo writing of Easter Island. 4,000 years ago in present-day Pakistan, the Indus Valley civilization flourished. In these ruins, archaeologists and other researchers have made the discovery of hundreds of thousands of short inscriptions containing an average of 5 symbols or signs, and they have never been deciphered. Not only that, there is no known cipher code to work with to even begin to decode these writings, so no one has any idea what they mean. Speculative efforts to decipher the symbols have led to cryptographers being threatened, and the underlying language the script is tied to being disputed. And there are complex modern-day political ramifications to this question, with rival ethnic groups claim to descend from this one great civilization. And some researchers go so far as to deny the existence of an underlying language. That is, they argue the Indus inscriptions were not true writing, visible signs that unambiguously represent speech, but an alternate symbolic system similar to emblems, conveying more general meanings. 4,000 years ago, the Indus Valley civilization held an estimated 1 million people spread over a region that was about 20 times as big as Scotland and twice the area of contemporary Egypt or Mesopotamia. It's unclear what happened to the people, or if any population today can count themselves as their descendants, but their influence may be greater than we ever realized before, until now. At these ancient places, there exist clear similarities between the ancient writing systems. The characters in the Rongo-Rongo inscriptions of Easter Island appear similar to the ancient Indus Valley civilization inscriptions. Both these writings have never been deciphered, but they are both considered to represent a variety of birds, fish, and godlike figures. If they had migrated via Easter Island, then this is unclear how this would have been undertaken, and believe it or not, in this culture, the flight of the Viamana is a very real way of traveling. In light of the elaborate descriptions of this advanced technology depicted in the ancient Sanskrit text of ancient India, the argument has been made that these are in fact references that can be linked to Anunnaki activity in the area and the division of the earth into different realms. The ancient texts also describe a war between the gods, and at these cities at the Indus Valley civilization, we do see a large amount of unburied skeletons in poses that suggest a horrific and sudden death. There is symbolism to back this up. At the Indus Valley ruins, symbolic Shiva lingams has been uncovered, and this is a sacred object to the Hindu faith and often found in temples dedicated to the Lord Shiva, and this can also be seen in South America. If these people from the Indian subcontinent had migrated to the other side of the world, then who were they in South America? Did they become the Olmec civilization, for example? In La Venta, Mexico, there are very peculiar Olmec carvings. There are bizarre snakes floating in the sky, some with people inside. Did the Olmecs have access to aviation technology? Another figurine shows an Olmec with features that could be construed as resembling a pressurized suit with wings. And some have theorized that this was in fact the ancient Indians suited up for the flight of the Via Mana across the ocean to reach South America thousands of years ago. At the site of San Agustin, there are no fewer than 500 megalithic structures of unknown origin. Could an older civilization have come to the Americas and brought with them the knowledge needed for the prosperity of the people? The Olmec are, of course, considered the mother of culture of these regions, and this happens very suddenly. So you have to ask the question, who were the Olmec? They appear to show many different cultures in the racial features of the Olmec depictions and reliefs, and this would suggest that these people came from somewhere else other than America. According to researchers investigating this theory for history, they say it is impossible for these structures to exist without the involvement of the Hindu faith, and this has baffled the scientific community now for decades. A lot of Hindu influence exists at the San Agustin archaeological site, and this has prompted Hindu historian Praveen Mohan to make the following remark about the existence of this place during a recent visit in 2019. He says, "We can see a central deity and two doorkeepers. This is Indian architecture. I have never seen anything like this in South America. This is the Lord Shiva depicted with fangs." At another location at the site, Praveen, again in disbelief, remarked, "Those are lingams. Those are symbols of Shiva. You can see this at ancient temples in India." Here we are in South America at a very remote location, without any connection to India, which is 11,000 miles away. How is this even possible? The astonishing fact here is that there was a migration to these parts in the very distant past. But for what purpose? Maybe the stories of the Anunnaki mining the earth for gold is not as far-fetched as some would have us believe. Please see our video on this linked below. The mind-numbing similarities between the South American ruins and of the many temples across the Indian region appear to connect the serpent with a head appearing from the serpent. Perhaps that is in fact the depiction of a person in flight in a craft. Also at this site, we see a stone sculpture of an Olmec man seated in cross-legged posture with his hands resting on his thighs and the tip of his thumb touching the index finger. This is a simple yogic posture which is primarily meant for meditation. The earliest archaeological evidence for yoga is the Pashupati seal, dated to 2300 BC, found at the archaeological site of Mohenjo-daro in the Indus Valley. The seal shows a male deity, identified by Sir John Marshall as an early prototype of the Hindu deity Shiva, with three faces, a horn headdress with plumes, seated on a throne in a very difficult yogic asana, in which the legs are bent below the body, such that the heels are pressed together below the groin, with the toes pointing downwards. A few hundred miles from the Olmec heartland is the cave and archaeological site of Huaxtilihuaca, which contains the earliest sophisticated cave art ever found in Mesoamerica. The most well-known of the cave art is Painting 1, which has been dated by archaeologist Michael Coe to the Olmec period and contains Olmec motifs. The man has long black hair reaching up to his ankles, and his arms and legs are covered with jaguar fur. He is wearing an elaborate headpiece with wavy lines coming out of it. The extent to which this painting corresponds to the Hindu depiction of Shiva is a game changer, guys. Shiva has elaborate matted locks and long hair. A stream of water comes out of his matted locks, which depicts the mythological narrative wherein Shiva captured the celestial river Ganges in his locks, coming down from heaven at a terrific speed, and allowed to flow down to earth gently. Snakes coil around Shiva's neck. He is sometimes shown holding a snake in his hand, and he carries the trident, which is the symbol of his power over the three worlds, and he is clothed in leopard skin. The association with Shiva is further strengthened by the fact that this painting was found in a cave. Caves are important places of Shiva worship. Naturally formed stalactites inside caves are often worshipped as manifestations of Shiva. Caves were sacred to the Olmecs and their successors in Mesoamerica as well, and Olmec sculptures show deities seated at a cave entrance. The Mayans believed that caves contained a pathway to the underworld, and this is why caves acted as places of burial, religious ceremonies, and ancestor worship. The Huaxtilihuacan cave was also used for burial purposes. A dozen skeletons have been unearthed here, and believe it or not, Shiva is also the lord of the cremation ground, where he roams in his fiery Bhairava form. As Bhairava, Shiva is a protector of the 8 cardinal directions, and keeps intruders out of sacred places. In this Olmec painting, Shiva appears to be performing his Bhairava role, threatening an intruder with his trident and serpent. There are far too many correlations, both iconographical and contextual, between this cave painting and the traditional iconography of Shiva. The trident, snake, jaguar skin, long hair, headdress with wavy lines, cave, burial ground, to assign this to mere coincidence. Anyway, as we have already discussed, the Olmecs were clearly serious yoga practitioners, and yogic asanas were revealed by Lord Shiva. One would expect that a culture so into yoga would have been aware of the deity who is credited with founding the discipline. The more we look at the things we are accused of sensationalizing, the more we see the truth that was left here for us to discover. These discoveries in South America tells a tale of another great civilization who apparently brought the culture we see today in South America. The influence of the ancient Indian subculture has influenced further and wider than they would have us believe isn't even possible. It is definitely time for a rethink of the true history of our people, and how we explain this lost history to our civilization is a key to understanding who we are. For far too long now, we have accepted what we have been told, but with a little digging on our own, everything we have ever been told about the ancient history of the earth and our people has in fact been a projected lie for the sake of popularity and wealth, in favor of truth. Question everything, guys, and remember, the ways by which we arrive at knowledge are hardly less wonderful than the discovery of these things themselves. Thanks for watching.